sitting about 60 degrees, kind of cloudy, so I will enjoy that while I can.
Yeah, I'm in New York, and we're in the middle of looks like a snowstorm just happened. So my wife is out and about, so she should be home soon. So hopefully I don't get a phone call in the middle of this, but we'll just take it as it goes. All right, I'm gonna couple of things here.
We got a really good group on today, Joe. There's quite a few on already.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so the reason why we put this together is there's some posts in the Facebook on lead gen, and we were getting a lot of questions and some um, private messages. So we figured the easiest way is to just bring, have the webinar and have people ask questions. If someone has a lead gen site already and they have specific questions, we could bring you on, kind of like on a hot seat. Um, so if you guys have questions, feel free to drop them in the question box here. And there is a question that I'll get to while we're waiting for people to ask their questions. Let me just move this box. Is one was, how do you know which what kind of niche to get into, right? If you're going to do service niche or dentist or doctor or what have you. Personally, when I do lead gen, I like to do service niches, and that's because like service or construction, because when I build out the website, a lot of times it's the contractor is going to be going to the person's house. It's not going to be a set location. If I'm building out, say, a plumber site, then I can give it a name like I wrote in a Facebook comment, like Superior Plumbing, and I could brand that name Superior Plumbing, and then when they get a phone call, usually it's because someone has a clogged sink, maybe they have a broken pipe or a sewer backup. They need some help. They need it now. They're not really going to be like looking at the okay, who's this company? How long have they been around? They just have questions. They need answers. They need a service done. When you get into the lead gen, like for say lawyers or dentists, it gets a little more involved because a lot of times people are looking and they want to know, well, who's this dentist? How long have they been around? What's their reputation? So it gets a little more involved. It doesn't mean that you can't do that. For me, I just kind of I go for the path of least least resistance. So I don't know, Fletch. What about you? What do you think about that?
I would 100% agree with you, Joe. When you do start getting into those, professional niches with lawyers, anything in the medical profession, um, there's just a different decision-making process typically. I think it not only is different because of kind of the point of sale, people going to a doctor's office as opposed to a plumber coming out to your house, but they in all likelihood will do a little more research to find the right doctor to call or the right dentist to call. And so moving into that niche, I actually work in medical, and we don't necessarily set it up and have it triggered with phone calls. We do more of a monthly rental so that we can have less generic content, much more branded content that is specific to the client, and it still works very well. We monetize it differently, and for lead gen as just a monetization model, I have done almost everything I do in construction. So and there's still plenty of room to maneuver in that.
And and two, I want to say this. There's like I always say it with marketing and a lot of different things is there's a lot of different ways to get to the same goal. There's a lot of different tactics. Like I have a way I set up my lead gen sites. Fletch has a way he does it. that works for him. Someone else may have a totally different way they do it. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean if you set up a lead gen site, you have to do it exactly like I say. You know, um, for example, when I set my lead gen sites up, I set them up because I'm viewing into the future, right? So like I could set this site up in this niche and I could just sell leads. Okay, then boom, then that's it, it's done. Or I could take it to another level. So say I set up this site, say it's a plumbing site, say I brand it, right? My brand becomes Superior Plumbing. Now, as I build that site up, what I do is for each city, say I'm in Austin or Dallas or San Diego. Okay, each city, I'm going to treat that as a location. And I kind of put it together and I imagine that this big corporate company has hired me or a franchise has hired me to get their brand out there. And, that's how I build out my site. So in San Diego, we'll have a San Diego page. There's going to be a San Diego address. There's going to be a Google Marketplace. There's going to be Facebook. There's going to be Twitter. There's going to be local citations. And then I'm going to rank that. So in a lot of my lead gen sites, I have 3, 4 spots on page one, because I'm doing the social and all this other stuff. And what it's doing is it's also building up the authority of my site. Now, down the road, say a year from now, I have all these leads coming in. I have my sites ranking everywhere. I have options. I can sell that site as a business if I want. I can franchise that site if I want to. I can sell that site to a large company, a large franchise. There's a lot of options I have with it. Um, Now I know that like with Fletch, on the other hand, Fletch, you have some sites where you let people know that it is a site where you're reviewing companies and you're giving them numbers for like the best company to
Yeah.
choose, right? So you're
Yeah,
very
that's
upfront.
exactly right. So, with almost everything I do online, and actually I'm saying almost just because there may be a few sites that I put up, right when I started that I actually have forgotten about, but um, I'm pretty transparent with who I am and why I chose to put a website up, and really, how I monetize it even to a degree. So, what Joe's referring to, I will have a site that may be like in the solar niche. It's a niche that I've earned a lot of money in. I continue to work in it, um, where I actually become kind of a consumer advocate, an educational resource for the visitor. So I'm not pretending to be a local solar company, but I did work in solar before I got involved with online marketing. I know a lot about the industry. I know how the financing works. I know how typically the power production agreements work, how the warranties work, and I essentially can provide that information to a visitor that comes to my website. And I can also be, with the FCC and how you're making money off a site, I can just come around and say, hey, you guys are going to call several companies anyway. I actually have this site set up to provide you the information you need, and if it's sufficient to get you kind of pointed in the right direction, we'd love to have you fill out this information. You'll actually be contacted by a handful of solar companies that I've personally chosen to work with, so that there's no breakdown there for thinking that they called one company and somebody else answers the phone with a different name, or they fill out some information, they wind up getting called by 6 different people and they get mad about that because they didn't know what they were going to expect. I really try to follow a lot of what Mike and David have taught me, honestly with Joe too, of just not having there be a breakdown in the process for the person from the time that they start searching till they land on your site until they actually become a customer of my end client. I try to make that as transparent and smooth as I can. And for the most part, most of my sites are done that way now, but there are some still that are like Mile High Plumbing, where it just looks like a local website that would be owned by a company in Denver, and then those leads can be sold, directly to, a local plumber in Denver or something like that. So I do have some that are a little more generic, but the longer I'm online, the more I move toward the previous example I gave.
And then also Dustin has a question here. He says, if I'm ranking a site like Dallas Rhinoplasties, how do I go about doing this? Do I build citations and everything as if I'm pretending to be a surgeon? And is the end goal with this type of site to forward phone calls or rent a page? Here's when you start doing a lead gen site, you know, I like to, before I even build the site, I like to think it all the way through. For me, I wouldn't do a surgeon, right? Because it's too complicated for myself for the path that I choose to go down. Now, if you were going to do a surgeon, you can do something like what Fletch just said, where you build out a site. Now it's a review site, and you're going to be talking about different surgeons. You can build that site up or that site out, and then lease it to a surgeon, and put his information on it. There's there like there's no like wrong way or right way. You just have to figure out what way works, and then if you run into an obstacle, you got to figure out a way around that obstacle. Like for example, like for me, if I have a branded site and it's called Superior Plumbing, and then they call and the guy that answers is Joe's Plumbing. Well, the way I handle that is one, the plumber already knows that the site's coming from Superior Plumbing, and there's what's called a whisper on the phone call because it's a tracking number. So before the phone even rings, he picks up the phone and it says, you know, lead from Superior Plumbing. So he already knows that, okay, this comes from the Superior Plumbing site, and he simply says, yes, we work with Superior Plumbing. You know, we work with them. We get their phone calls, you know, their overflow work or the phone calls or whatever. And on my site, I have a disclaimer that says, you know, we use local contractors to fulfill some of our work, and so they already know, okay, it's they might get somebody else, but the thing is I you know when I listen to those calls, I'd want to say probably 20% of the people might even have an ask about that, like even say, is this Superior Plumbing? They just want their question answered. The guy's answering the questions. Sometimes they don't even remember where they got the number from. They just, you know, and then they set the appointment and they go. So on that front, now let's see. Maybe we should start hitting a couple of these questions we got here.
Yeah, sounds good. I see there's a question here from Justin about tracking the leads and the cost with those authority style sites. Yeah, Joe, I know, has gone into, you know, how he prices. I have as well. Those are each in our modules. For the most part, it just comes down to, you know, kind of understanding the value of the customer and the conversion rate of somebody who makes a phone call. How many of those phone calls does it take to actually get a customer out of it? And then I usually try to price my lead somewhere around, you know, between 5 and 15% of the value of that customer, Justin. And I track that with any of the call tracking software, CallFire, ACT, CallZoo. Any of those work pretty well.
Yeah, and for me, when I'm thinking about like how much to charge, because I'm in the service niche that I am, I know what they're paying, because there's a website called Home Advisory, and they're the largest lead broker probably in the nation, and they, you know, they'll sell leads to these contractors. So say it's a plumbing lead, I know how much they're selling it for. So say they're selling this plumbing lead for $25. Okay, but the problem is they're selling that lead to 4 contractors, so they're making 100. They're selling it $25 a piece, but the plumber, you know, they don't, you know, it doesn't work for them, because now they pay for this lead, but now they got to compete right off the bat with 3 other plumbers. Plus, this lead is an email, So basically, someone goes to Home Advisor, fills out a form, and then it generates a lead. Now, half the time the plumbers try to call back this lead, and nobody answers the phone, but they still have to pay for it. So I would take that situation and I look at that. I look at what the pay-per-click is, like Fletch says. I look at the value of how much uh, they're going to make off the lead, and then that's how I come up with my price. So I would probably price that same lead somewhere around $50 or $70. And the thing is I tell them this lead is going right to you. These are qualified. They're not warm leads. They're qualified, meaning that if you get a call and it's somebody trying to sell you something or something like that, you don't have to pay for the lead, but you don't have to compete with other people for this lead. This lead is just going to you.
Yeah, and that's huge, guys. Joe knows a lot about. We know the construction industry pretty well. The service industry with home services or business services, it's a massive difference to generate a lead that is, originates from somebody having a problem they're trying to solve, going on Google, finding a solution, and making a phone call that transfers directly to that business. The Home Advisor stuff, and really any of the other bigger CPA. I do CPA, and it pays me well, but from a business perspective, if you're on the other end of those buying those leads, it's really frustrating to have to pay for something that is of that low a quality and is being competed for by that many companies. I actually just had a meeting just this last week with a company that I've worked with in the past, and they just came right out and said, like, can you just please build us a brand online, or build your own brand online? I don't care, but just give us stuff that's not being sold to 5 different companies and transferred directly to our people, because it's a huge differentiator for these local businesses to be able to actually receive a phone call directly from the person that wants the service or has a problem that needs to get solved, if it's a plumber or something like that. It's a huge deal. And if you're selling leads and not really coming out and talking about that openly, you're probably leaving a lot of money on the table, because there aren't a lot of people who do lead gen with SEO traffic and have it set up to do hot transfers, which is essentially the phone call rings through directly to the business before it gets scrubbed or filtered or anything like that.
And the other thing too, along with that, is I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. Like, if you put up a lead gen site and you just call up and say, hey, I want to sell you guys some leads, the person on the other end may not be jumping for joy to take your lead. I was surprised when I started doing it. The more it was the point where they didn't, they get called so much with, let me do your SEO, let me sell you leads, let me do this, and they get burned so many times. A lot of times the businesses, they're a little caustic. They don't trust. What I do is, it's very simple. I say, listen, I want to give you these leads for a week or 2 weeks, and I want you, and I'll call you back in 2 weeks and see what you think. And I mean, that's my whole pitch is and then what they'll do is the leads will go directly to them. We record them, and then you more often than not, they're ecstatic, because here they're getting leads, they're getting jobs, and they're good leads, and it's a way of breaking through and making myself different from everybody else. Also, where I get my leads from are, where I get the people that I'm going to sell the leads to. Again, if I could find them on Home Advisor, dude, those are the easiest, because they're already getting leads from Home Advisor, and I can give them mine for free, and they'll notice the difference. Also, there's for construction, there's the Blue Book. What is it? I think it's Construction Blue Book or something, where you could find contractors in an area that aren't online, right? Like, if they're on page 1, am I going to call them up and sell them leads already? Probably not, because there's probably leads are getting, already. So I try to find like ways around it. Is it a, how about their manufacturer? Is there a local supply store in the area that we can contact and get the names of some plumbers? Like say it's plumbing, I call plumbing supply. Hey, I need a plumbing help for whatever here. Can you give me a couple plumbers to call? So they give me the name of the plumbers. I look, are they online? If they're not anywhere online or they're not on the first or second page, boom. I mean, that's a perfect candidate because they're not going to even see these leads. So, and they're probably not getting hammered with phone calls if they're not easily found online. So those are some ways of tracking down people to sell your leads to. See, I got Yazid here has 3 questions. So they ask, how do you find niches or a list of niches? Fletch, how do you find your niches that you go into?
Honestly, I do as good a job as I can of staying focused on what I know. With construction and residential home improvement, I mean that industry is just so big. I haven't branched out from that far. I do some stuff in travel and tourism. We're actually in the process of building a company in that industry, and then we actually do work in the medical industry on a pretty big project that we've been putting together for about the last 6 months. But outside of that, I'm just starting to think what I would do is just kind of start paying attention to the town you're in and who's paying for billboards. Listen to the radio and see who's paying for radio ads. Those are people who have money to spend on outbound marketing, which is typically less ROI than inbound stuff is. Those are going to give you an indication who has enough margin to work with, and what industries are typically pretty open to spending some of their money on third-party fulfillment for their marketing. That's one way I would kind of start to be open or more receptive to really what's already happening, what's going on. You can start to just do keyword research and see where high cost per clicks paired up with a decent search volume is as well. For the most part, though, like I said, I kind of just stuck with some things I knew, which helped me understand the value of the customer, conversion rates, being able to speak the language of the business owner or the trade. And like I said, I could have just done that with nothing else and had a business as large as I wanted it to be. So, if you don't have a lot of experience with local business or brick and mortar, you go to a chamber meeting, chamber of commerce meeting, or get involved in your community with some of the business groups. B&I is a great one. I know several people in OMG belong to their B&I chapters. You start to wind up with referrals in that space, and it just kind of spins from there. That's kind of maybe some ideas that you guys could kind of run with or open up some new thoughts for you maybe.
Yeah, no, I mean that's an awesome ways. It's really getting out there a little bit.
Yeah.
The way I find niches is, again, like Fletch, I'm in construction. I was in construction, so I have that background. But also, what I do is I like to, find out. I want to get in a niche that, one, they're going to be able to pay for my lead, right? That my lead is they're gonna get a lot of return from. So, will I do like a pool cleaner? Probably not, because even though it annualizes, a lead could be worth $1,000 or $1,200 to him. I want to go for maybe something like a roofing contractor. Even that may be competitive, but you have something like foundation repair. Like that's a niche that not everyone's going into. But if someone has to get their foundation repaired, it's several thousands of dollars. And so I may go into something like that. And the other thing you can do is find a niche within a niche. Say you're thinking of auto insurance, so you're going to do some or insurance. So you can go auto insurance, or you can niche it down to motorcycle insurance, and you could kind of really niche it down to where you have really targeted, specific leads. And does that mean if you pick a niche that it's going to just be fantastic and you're definitely going to make money at it? Not always. I picked a niche, was leak detection, and I thought this was an awesome niche, right? I'm like, people are gonna love it. But no, it was very, I would get calls, but the problem with that was there were so few people that did that service in an area that it was like they were either going to get called anyway, or they didn't want to buy the lead. I don't know. It didn't work. I put up a site. I mean, I maybe could have made it work, but it didn't work. It was too much of a hassle. So I cut it, and I started a different niche. Until I found one that kind of kicked on, and then I expanded. So that's so sometimes it's a little bit of an experimenting and going out and finding the right thing that fits with you. I don't know if you guys have any question on that specific. You can just drop it in the question box here.
Yeah. Hey, there's actually an interesting question here from Herc, who is actually in Phoenix. We get together and have a beer every once in a while, but it's a client site that he has rented out for like $500 a month, and client's saying that he only made $250 on it last month, and so he wants to lower the price. How do you approach those, Joe? I'd really be interested in hearing what you have to say on that.
Well, let me ask you this, Herc. Okay, I got it here. So, Herc, you recording the phone call?
It looks like he had it set up. Oh, you bringing him live? Yeah, let him answer. Yeah.
Oh, was I?
I don't know. I thought I heard another voice. It says that he's got form fills, so he's getting paid per form fill, but doesn't have call tracking set up on it last month.
Yeah. I track. I track everything, and that's the important thing about the lead site, is if you're not tracking it, you don't know, because if the guy's getting phone calls, he's not going to always credit it to you. I mean, that's just very early on. Even when I have customers, my first client was a dentist, and I had him ranked all over the place, and he's like, it's not working for me. I'm not getting any phone calls. And I was beside myself. I'm like, how are you not getting phone calls? And then I dropped a tracking number on it, and on a site he was getting phone calls. He just didn't. The people weren't saying, "Hey, I found your website online." They were just saying, "Hey, you need a dentist." So one, I would definitely first thing put a tracking number on there. You're losing a lot of leads by not having a number. Two, I make sure you have analytics or some kind of traffic to see, are people going to your site? I mean, that's what I would do. And I don't, personally, I don't rent out sites. I sell leads. So I've not run into that where someone says, hey, I want to pay you less for it. So, I mean, we could bring Herc live on too, Fletch, if you want, if he has more.
Yeah, let's see if he drops another comment. He's got a couple follow-ups on there. But yeah, if he wants to jump live, we can bring him live if he's got a mic and whatnot.
And yeah, all right. So there's a couple of questions up here I want to just hit real quick. How much content is needed for a lead gen site? It's just like any site you want to rank. I mean, that's what I would say. For me, I try to put I'll put content on there. It's like, with the way I used to do them is I used to set them up, and I used to just make the phone number so prevalent, and I'd have less content because I wanted to generate that phone call. Now I put more content on just because things have changed with the search and authority, and I'm trying to build up authority more. Plus, I find that, I don't know if this is the same for you, Fletch, but I find that if I am able to answer people's questions on my website, the phone call I get is more qualified.
Yeah,
Um,
I find the same thing. Like that Mile High Plumbing site I put up as an example. Honestly, I put that together as an example of how to silo a website. It wasn't necessarily for an example lead gen site. You can rank sites, especially in the non-competitive local markets, with very little content. You know, that site is a perfect example of it. I've got scraped videos. There's no original content on that site anywhere, and it's got 100 keywords that I'm on the first page for. So it's not always about ranking. There's kind of a sweet spot between your investment of time and money to get the content that it's going to create the best quality customer for your client. You know, and getting a site ranked, that's the first threshold. That's the first kind of breakthrough we have for people starting out. Go do that first. Don't worry about conversion. Get the site ranked, and then expect it to not generate any phone calls. You know, once you get to the point where you understand what it takes to rank, then you can start playing with conversion and different niches, different areas, depending on the competition, depending on, there's all sorts of things that'll come into play that will probably be different, you know, for different sectors, different geographic areas of what it will take to generate the highest number or best quality of phone call. And being able to answer questions on your site is a huge one. That's a piece of you know, kind of creating that trust and authority of being a resource and serving the visitor before you ask for them to take action. And it's a great kind of concept to keep, you know, in the back of your head while you're building your content out. And just like Joe said, you know, every project I do now, I really think about what it's going to look like when it's done. So beginning with the end in mind, you know, whether it's going to be just a solo website or whether I'm building out the social property to support it and to make it look like more of a legitimate business. If I'm going to go the route of getting it, you know, in the seven pack, you know, and getting an address on it, then citations come into play. If you don't go into a project like that, it's really easy to wind up not doing anything really particularly well, because it's kind of like, oh yeah, well, you know, maybe I should do some of this and some of that, and you know, it's hard to really improve your process if you haven't really documented it and planned it out. So I would highly recommend spending a little extra time on the front end of saying, okay, what I'm going to put together here is a site that's really set up to answer a bunch of questions about, you know, these 10 keywords that are based on services, you know, home services or something like that. And then what you're going to try to do to get it ranked, whether you're going to try to go with the Google Maps, Google My Business listings or not. And then, you know, beyond that, then you actually have something to work with and say, oh, that didn't work so well, or that worked really well, I'm going to keep doing it.
and two, one thing to keep in mind is, don't get hung up like what Fletch says. You know, just get the site up, start getting it ranked. Is on like the design or, okay, it's got to be perfect before I launch this thing. Just get the thing up. I mean, you'll be surprised. People, you know, I put sites up where I'm like, man, okay, I need, and the site will get phone calls, and it's like, you know, and I'm surprised because I think it's not set up for conversion that well. I haven't set up for conversion yet. I'm still getting calls. I mean, Fletch, you're getting calls off that Mile High Plumbing, right?
Yeah.
That thing's not even.
Yeah, I get 2 or 3 phone calls a day on that, and it's just a scraped YouTube video from one of my competitors or somebody. Sometimes those videos are not even that specific. You know, nobody's really done a video on mobile home plumbing, and I literally get a phone call every day, somebody that needs a plumber to come out and work on their mobile home plumbing. And it's kind of like one of those, well, what you can start to do if you build a big site like what that is, which is everything in plumbing, you start to listen to those phone calls that are recorded, and it's like, holy crap, mobile home plumbing. You can build out a specific site just for mobile home plumbing and have it, you know, nationwide or a larger geographic area. You start to learn things about the industry by just paying attention to your business, paying attention to those phone calls you generate and those recordings. You know, that's the best way to get experience if you don't have it. Get a site ranked and start recording the phone calls and see what people are looking for that you've actually connected with in some way. You know, you can also definitely use something like third-party tracking software like Clicky I use on a lot of my sites. Even though it doesn't tell you what Google keyword people use, it'll still report the keywords that came out of Bing and Yahoo, which may give you some insight on what people were looking for that came to your site as well, which is another way to kind of start to understand what people might be looking for, which is, you know, that after you get ranked, that's the next step, is starting to put your foundation together for conversion.
And two, like, is I put webmaster on mine.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Like, I'll put analytics on my sites, my lead sites, and webmaster tools, because for me, I'm like, I want Google to view me as a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but if you go to Google Webmaster Tool, they'll show you all the queries. Like, you'll see keywords in there. They're not going to show up in analytics. They're going to be the keywords where you'll see where impressions and clicks, and so it gives you huge amount of data. And really, the point is like you just got to get started. Like, you got to put something up, you got to get going, and then, you know, you can refine it once you get going. But if you never leave the launch pad, you're never going to refine it. You know, you're never going to you know, you're gonna be stuck. There was a couple of other question here. Oh, like, so I'm kind of skipping around. I'm going to try to get to all the questions, but I want to, like, if we're on a topic, I want to try to hit the questions where Carol asks, so you don't actually sell the leads to anyone while trying to rank the site. Do you put a note in the header that it's not active or something? Now, what I do is I do a few things. One is I have someone that answers the phone for me. It's like a phone service. And they'll answer and they take a message. So they say, okay, hey, this is, you know, Superior Plumbing. Oh, okay, you need a clog sink. Okay, where are you located? We'll have a contractor call you back right away. Or, I mean, our service tech will call you back right away. And then what will happen is we'll get an email that here's the lead. So we'll either follow up and we'll call a couple of plumbers in the area and say, hey, look, we got this lead. You know, can you know, and just give it to them. So that's one way where I get calls answered. Another thing you can do is I have some training in Project X and OMG. I think that's on CPA, where you can get a niche and you can use a CPA company, which is a cost per action, is they'll pay you, you know, for leads. Now the leads they pay are low. You know, say like if it's a window, like putting in window replacement, they may only pay $15. But the point of that training that I did was that you could immediately be selling leads to this CPA network, and you could be making money right away. And once your site gets up and refined and you're getting steady leads, you can go out, you can get a contractor and sell those leads for $50, $70 a lead. Plus, you can show that contractor the history of that site. Say, hey, listen, I'm going to send you over some of the leads we've been getting for the past 30 days. And you send that over to them, then that, you know, that helps you to sell the leads, and it helps the value of your lead. Because when a contractor gets that list of recorded leads, they're going to be like, you know, they start thinking in their mind like, oh man, I wish I had that job. Oh, I wish I would have got that job. You know, and then you know, it makes them, you know, want the leads even more. So that's some of the things I do.
Yeah, and those the new sites I put together, and just like Joe said, those CPA offers are pretty nice. You can throw those on there pretty quick and start seeing if you get conversion, and, you know, make a little money as you kind of scale it up and don't have a local client yet. But yeah, one of the first things I do on every site I have is throw a phone number on it, because just like Joe said, you don't know how little it might take to actually trigger some phone calls. The reason I put a phone number on that Mile High site was just to kind of see. You know, for a long time, it was up for 8 months without any phone number on it at all. I just was kind of curious as to how many people would actually call that number, which, you know, you don't know until you try. Just like, you know, we kind of both hit on is, you know, just getting something up. You know, it's one thing to learn enough that you actually know what you're doing and you don't go down a blind alley that you didn't need to go down. But once you think you've got it, just put it together, put it up, start getting the thing ranked, and then, you know, figure out from there. Because it's hard to really go from $0 to $1 million, but especially if you haven't made a lot of money online yet. But the opportunity for those larger dollar amounts is just huge. It's really prevalent as you start to get more experience and you start to kind of put the pieces together and you start to open up connections, you know, in the industry. It's a lot easier to kind of trade up once you've got some experience and once you've got some, well, you know, really something working for you, something that's paying you day in and day out. So, you know, I'd really recommend everybody that is interested in this to just say, hey, I'm going to build out like Superior Plumbing and you know, start to get the thing ranked, get some content on it, and see if you can get some phone calls.
And then I saw Scott Shaft in the audience. I made him an organizer.
Oh, right on, yeah.
I don't even know if you have a mic, Scott, or if you even want to be, but I just kind of made you an organizer. So feel free to jump in anytime you want.
Yeah, sounds good. Let me know if you need anything else either. I'm just kind of working on the background, listening to all the wisdom you guys have.
Well, what were you saying? How do you get how do you sell your leads? You made a comment here, so you know, what tactic do you use?
Yeah, mine's a little different. I do more of the rental portion. So while I'm building up a site, I will immediately set up call tracking on it and send that number to a vetted company, meaning I just did a little bit of background research on that company. I looked at the reviews, all that kind of stuff, and obviously looked at where their ranking was to see if it could be a potential client. And then as it's ranking, if it gets any phone calls, it automatically just goes to them. Then, of course, as it moves up the ranks, the phone calls increase. And then once I'm at a good spot, you know, the top 3 to 5 spots in Google, that's when I'll contact the company, either send a gift basket with you know, a letter in there saying, hey, I'm so-and-so with my company, and if you've noticed some increased business, it was from me. And then, like you were discussing, you can take that the call tracking spreadsheet and send it to them and say, hey, these are the leads that I gave you. Are you interested in talking about how we keep this going? It just kind of opens the door. You build some trust because you've already given them a bunch of free stuff. So that's pretty much the method I use. And then it's just kind of a monthly rent that we, you know, a big price that we agree upon. And it's just super simple. It's automatically invoiced every month. They pay. I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to count the leads. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great way. See, I mean, like I said in the beginning, there's all different kinds of ways to do this, to skin this cat, and leasing the site out is awesome. I mean, it's super simple. Way to go. And then I got another question in here on, let's see, on actually how do we, you know, sell leads, or, you know, how do we track it? Like for me, what I do is I invoice I auto bill them every week. So the software I use will create an invoice, and then we go in and charge their card every week for whatever leads that they get. Other people will front load it, where they'll take, you know, a chunk of money up front and then deduct it, you know, as the leads are seen, then they take it off. You know, so they'll get $500, and then, you know, then as the leads accrue, it goes down, and then they recharge it. What are you doing, Fletch? How are you charging the leads?
Yeah, that's how I do mine, Joe. I get paid up front, and then yeah, I just credit those as the phone calls come in, and once the balance goes below a certain threshold, we send an invoice, and, you know, as long as it gets paid on time, the leads continue to flow. If they're, you know, more than a few days late on payment, I have that all in the agreement, really, that I put up in that lead gen module that's in I think all the way. It may not be in NHB, the very first product we have, but it's in Project X and Juggernaut and Breakthrough. That the lead purchase agreement that I use spells all that out, so that I make sure that, you know, I'm sending the invoice to somebody who knows what's going on, is qualified to pay, you know, the dollar amount that's agreed upon for the, you know, 10 or 20 or 50 leads that they're purchasing each time, and that you know, all parties understand if that invoice is not paid in a timely manner, then the you know, the leads will stop, and if they want to, you know, restart after that point in time, there'll be another kind of setup fee because of just, you know, the administrative overhead of going in and pointing the phone calls to different places. And, you know, if I do any branding for their business on the site, you know, I've got to change that stuff out too. So usually it works pretty well.
Yeah. All right, good. So we got another question in here. Justin says, sorry, wasn't quite clear. If you have 6 businesses on your authority site, do you change all 6 each time a visitor leaves their information? But you have a way of tracking who signed the visitor up. I mean, I don't know if I understand this question, but like for me, say on my site, it's ranking for each city. Each city page has a unique sidebar, and in it has a unique contact box and phone number. So if they call that phone number, it tracks an invoice is to that business I'm selling the leads to. If they put their information in that contact box, it tracks and puts that, you know, on the invoice also. So that's how I'm tracking it right now. I don't know. Does that sound like, I don't know, Fletch, if you got something else for that question, but. And then I got some other questions here asking about what themes that we use. For me, I use a theme. I just use I use a few different themes. You can use the skin that's inside of Director's Cut. If you guys are in Director's Cut, I mean, you just use any theme that kind of works for you. So Fletch, do you have a certain type of theme that you like to use? You still there, Fletch? All right, seems like we might have lost Fletch here. Make sure we're still on here. Give me a 1 if you guys could still hear me. Okay. All right, I'm still on. All right. It looks like hello?
Yeah, I hear you just fine. I'm not sure where Fletch is.
All right. He might have, something might have happened to him, so we'll see if he pops back on here.
Was there a question for me? I just jumped out and back in. Heard you talking.
All right. Now,
okay.
I wanted to make sure we were still on.
Oh, yeah, we're still good. I just had to go grab some water real quick.
All right. It was just a question about a theme, like if there's a particular theme that you use. Or anything.
Yeah, no, I use Genesis Dynamic for the most part. There's Small Biz Press is a skin that I actually kind of like. It's pretty decent for lead gen. I've actually got a couple people now that do some work developing kind of some skins, and if we get to the point of having a really good one for lead gen, we'll probably share that with the group anyway too. So.
Yeah, and then, I mean, for me, my criteria is that I got a big phone number that people could see and call, and if I'm tracking, I got a place I can put my contact box, and that's about it. I don't get too wrapped up in how awesome the design is. As long as I'm clear and people can see my call to action, I look like a professional company. That's really all I'm really worried about.
Yeah, most of it with local businesses is just getting in front of somebody and then not shooting yourself in the foot. You know, just not looking like you're fully generic. Don't confuse them at all. Um, you know, Mike talks a lot about like broken windows and stuff. You don't have broken links. You don't have, you know, little question marks because it can't find an image file or something like that. If you just don't do that, it, you know, all likelihood it'll probably work pretty well.
Yeah, and then Josh asked, what do I use to track form fills? So my tracking is, you know, I use it called Calzoo, which it's not up right now, I guess. I mean, it's still working for me, but they're not taking on any new clients. I guess they're redesigning their website. And to be honest, the only reason why I use them is because they will let me put up unique contact form with my phone number, and then they invoice it. There's another company out there I've been talking to that they have a really, really good back end, and they're going to try to put this together with the form fills. If they do that, I'll for sure let you guys know. But that's what I use to track it. I mean, analytic call tracker, a lot of people use that, and that works if you're just tracking phone numbers, but I don't think they don't track form fills. Okay. All right, so let me see. I'm just going through some of these questions. Okay, and then Rob S. says, businesses should also train staff to ask customers how they found their business. Yeah, you know, good luck with that. A lot of times you can help them to tell them to ask. A lot of times they won't ask. The secretary just, you know, they don't always ask. That's why tracking is good and recording the calls. And actually, I mean, even if you guys have clients, you could sell the call tracking, because then they could tell how their salespeople or how their secretary are handling the phone calls, because they may be getting phone calls and the secretary just doesn't handle them right, or is rude. Like, I've had, you know, doing this lead gen, man, I've had businesses where, dude, the salesman was just horrible. They're like, what do you want, when the person's calling, and just totally rude. And we sent that to the client to listen. I just want to let you know, man, this is how your sales guy is handling these calls. And we even offered him, say, if you want, we can get on a call and like show you guys some tips to convert some of these phone leads. So the call tracking is extremely valuable.
Yeah, I found actually with some clients that some of the biggest selling points is not only can they now have some quality assurance with their, you know, front people, the gatekeeper, whatever you want to call them, but also with these lead gen sites, you're offering extra free branding. They're not just getting leads, they're also branding, because how difficult is it to change a logo on a website and some basic content and all that kind of stuff? It's not at all. So if you fire that client 4 months on the road, you can get a new client and have it all changed within an hour. So yeah, it's that branding and then that call tracking that they just seem to love that.
Yeah, and yeah, I love that call. I've been tracking calls for a long time now. Okay, so I'm just going through some of these we've answered already. There's a particular theme.
Yeah, we're seeing your Skype, Joe. If you're aware of that, just wanted to make sure.
My Skype.
Yeah, your Skype was up on screen.
Is it up now?
No, now we're looking at your Facebook. Now we're looking at your Skype.
Oh. All right. I don't even know how that popped up there.
Yeah.
So.
These damn computers. Just have a mind of their own.
Because I see the question box.
Yeah, I see your cursor moving, you know, over what I assume is, because it shows like it's reading, but it's just over the top of your Facebook. looking at what I assume is
Okay.
OMG, but yeah, it looks like OMG is what you've searched for. So yeah, but the question box is transparent. I think there's a setting that you can do a click box and let the questions be visible if you wanted to do that, but they'll in all likelihood be recorded on my end if we decide to push this out.
All right. That's it. Okay, so Herc says, I'd be happy to share my site, set up call tracking stack, etc. as an example if you guys want. Okay, so I think we're kind of at the end of these questions right now. So if we missed your questions, or if you guys have anything, just pop it in. Pop it in now. Or if we didn't answer something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just taking a step back and just kind of giving a synopsis of really what Joe and I talked about. What we've been talking about, together with one another for the last 2 years, which is there's a lot of ways of making this work. And as long as you don't really overthink it, and you go in with kind of a basic premise and a plan, you'd be surprised at the opportunities that come out of it. And not only improving your skill set with ranking and building sites and understanding conversion, but just bigger deals and bigger opportunities. Like a lot of my focus now, it has been on lead gen, but more generic lead gen. Like I'm just in the business of building businesses now, so I actually don't take on clients, as most of you know, outside of referrals. Being able to work on your own assets and build your own, value and equity in your own company is pretty nice. So, lead gen is something everybody here, I'm sure, is interested in it. But what it lets you really do is to build equity in your own company. So, if you just kind of go into it that way, you can put together a $50 project that may make you, $500 a month. And you do that every month, pretty soon you've got a business that you could sell for, a few $100,000, if you wanted to. So just continue to keep kind of that bigger picture perspective, and a lot of opportunities open up.
Yeah, and I mean, even for me, like when I went down to Costa Rica, right? I had opportunity where I thought, oh, let me see, I'm going down there, maybe I'll start a fishing business, right? Because how many people dream of going on the tropical island and starting a fishing business? Well, I got down there, and let me tell you, you go down to a place like that, and you start up a fishing business, it ain't all roses, right? You have to deal with people, they're going to come, you have to take them out on the boat, you got to make sure they're happy, and it's a job. So I started a lead gen site, hooked up with a guy who knew a bunch of boat captains, all around Costa Rica, and we started selling leads to them. And we actually the way we did it is, we get 15 to 20% of whatever the job is, because down there, a lot of the boats, they don't have a way to collect credit cards or anything like that, so we just set it up, we collect the payment, and we get a 15 to 20% commission. So we got one boat trip came in, it was like 14 grand. The whole trip was for a boat, hotel, all that stuff. In the end, we made a little over 2 grand for this one call that we basically just transferred to these other companies, but we made a commission off it. So, also think about, what are ways that you can work with people still make money from it. And then let's see, Pip asks here, what is a Google Marketplace? That's just Google Local, or the maps, or what people are calling the 7-pack. See, Brian asked, do you do quick and dirty single placement, or do you try and dominate the first page for lead gen? For me, as I'm building out my lead gen stuff, yeah, my goal is to rank a video first. I put a video together, and then that's what's gonna pop up first. Then I'll start work on my website or web page to get up there. In the meantime, usually I'm creating help and some of these other secondary sites. So a lot of times they'll pop up. Obviously the more stuff you have on page one, the more phone calls you're gonna get. And Vince asked, do you suggest call tracking for clients who you do SEO for to track different ads and pages, or does that interfere with NAP? I mean, for me, I track as much as I can. Just because the more data, the better. We use sites like eBay, classified to rank on page one. For lead gen, I've used everything. I've used Craigslist before. So leads that I got off Craigslist. I mean, you can use really whatever works. So I got another question here by Rob. How do you deal with small areas that have limited population, leading to low search volume? I don't know. I mean, again, that comes down to your research, to the type of niche it is. I like to stay in the top 20, 30 cities that have higher population, so I know I'm going to get the call volume. On the other hand, if it's a smaller city, it's going to rank a lot easier. What I've done before too is, like, say I have areas of New York where maybe it's really a county. So you have I don't remember the names off the top of my head, but you'll have a county like in upstate New York, and then you'll have all these little towns like Essex County, right? So I'll have Essex County, and that'll be my lead page, and then on the bottom I have all the towns just listed. And I'll find that page will rank for those little towns, just because the town is on that page for that niche in that county. That's not going to happen all the time, but it worked for that niche. So even though that's those little towns are pretty small, by having that city name down there, I'm ranking for it. I'm getting calls from there if people want to call. So Josh Ferris asks, I went to a P&I meeting. It seems that you have to kind of trade referrals as part of the way they operate. How would you approach that if your personal and business network is pretty small and out of the outset? Josh, with B&I meetings, where they really help is, obviously if you want to get local clients and referrals, you'll be surprised. They help you get referrals. They help you in the system. It's almost like a whole nother business where they help you give each other referrals. They have a whole program to do that. And the other thing you can do besides B&I, because B&I can be expensive too. It can get expensive if you're joining all these different meetings. You can go to chamber meetings. Like for San Diego, there's a chamber meeting for every city, like Vista, Oceanside, San Marcos, Escondido. And even though I'm not a member of all of them, I could visit them for free. Sometimes they have these different events that you can just visit as a guest, and you can mix and mingle with people there.
Yeah, Joe, if you don't mind, real quick, I joined BNI 3 months ago, and I've got to say that $500 yearly fee or whatever it was is nothing, because just within the first month and a half, I received about $8,000 worth of business. So obviously it pays for itself pretty quick. But what I like about BNI, unlike some of the marketing groups, which are free, which is awesome, I'll go to all of the ones you can. Yeah, BNI kind of forces you to network and get to know the other BNI members, which builds trust, and with trust, then you get referrals. So I've definitely become a fan of that. Granted, not all groups are probably created equal. Maybe I just have a really outstanding group BNI group, but it's pretty awesome. It's totally worth it. Obviously, I've gotten my money back many times over just in the first couple months. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I also was part of a BNI group when I first started, and it's exactly what Scott says. They teach you how to market to each other for the referrals, and it is worth it. The other thing is if you do think like a team or more involved, you get like if you become what they call an ambassador. The more meetings you go to, if you do lunch and learns, meaning you can give like a 20-minute speech on what you do or like a training, all those things build up your authority, build up like trust. Okay, so Daniel asks, is it a problem selling leads when you're halfway around the world? I don't see a problem with it. I was selling leads when I was in Costa Rica. It depends. You can. All you need is to be able to put up a website, track the leads, and have a phone that you can call people to sell the leads to. And then, so Rob asks, are you niching down to roofing or bathroom remodeling individually, or creating sites that offer both together? Usually what I do is, my site, I offer one thing, right? I'm not going to offer roofing and bathroom remodeling. It doesn't mean you can't do that. I just like to be very niche specific, so that I know what the calls are that I'm getting. I mean, and then if I have to, say, drop the current person I'm selling leads to and sell it to somebody else, if I have a site that's doing roofing and bathroom remodel, now I have to find another client that does roofing and bathroom remodel. So I like to keep it pretty specific. I don't know if you, Josh, if you or Scott, if you guys do something different, but that's kind of what I do.
I just ducked out again real quick, Joe. What was the question? I'd be happy to weigh in on it.
Oh, they were just asking if you keep your lead sites pretty niche specific, or like to give an example, would you do roofing?
Yeah.
And bathroom
remodeling
together?
And actually, most of my leads are kind of even in one vertical. I've shared it at OMG Live now a couple times, and I do on my office hours, but most of my stuff has to do with energy efficient home improvement. So anything that involves, swapping out windows, doors, insulation, air conditioning, solar water heaters, within that vertical, I can really focus on the type of people who would be looking for that. It opens up more keywords because of the potential to cross over with utility stuff. Like I said, you can go very deep in a bunch of different niches. I do a few things in kitchen remodels and bathroom remodels as well, but I keep my sites pretty focused, not only in content but in target market. So there are times when I will branch out and I'll build two different sites that are focusing on the exact same products or services, but the sites are really set up to convert two different demographics. So one might be people who are getting in and flipping homes and they're looking for the best bang for their buck on products to include. Another one might be focused on people that are in fixed income situations and want to open up enough more monthly budget for themselves to live on. So that's something I kind of keep in mind when I'm designing a project or starting to get into the construction phase of getting content and really getting it pointed the right direction.
That's great. Now, here's another question by Randall. I don't know if you guys have an opinion on this one. He says, I don't know if you answered this, but would there be value in building my iFounditLocal.com brand and build multiple niche pages off of that site? So let me ask Randall, Do you have a microphone? You want to hop on? I mean, do you have a mic available? Let's see. No. Okay. Randall doesn't have a mic. So my found it local brand. So are you trying to build like a directory site? So that almost like a My City SEO where you're building like one site where you're gonna have multiple businesses on it. Just give me a yes or no because yes, okay. Um, I mean, I'll answer what I think first, but I think that I don't like for me that's not a direction I'm gonna go. I would go. Doesn't mean you can't. It seems like a lot of work to me to have a giant directory site where um, now instead of just ranking for plumbing, you're kind of off in a lot of different directions. It I mean, it doesn't mean it can't work. It's just that's not how I work out my business. But Fletch, what do you think about that?
Well, I like to spend most of my time and effort and money on things that I own and control. So I put most of my work into my own websites. I'll use, video and some of these third-party platforms to really support that effort, but I like to put most of my effort into, those websites. About as far abreast as I'll go is, kind of last year when that My City Guide, concept was kind of, springing up and becoming more and more popular. It opened. There's actually another question here that I'll actually hit on right when I'm talking about this, but one of the models that I use that's worked pretty well is to build that consumer advocate or consumer education type of lead gen site and have it hey, if you want to have a plumber come out and install this InstaHot water heater, give us a call and we'll take care of that for you. But if you're one of the do-it-yourselfers, you can buy the best InstaHot water heater right here. It'll take you to Amazon. You can buy it over there. So I kind of do a little hybrid model on that. That was, like I said, that's another question. It's kind of going off in a different direction, but I didn't want that to kind of slip away from us because, again, this isn't about what are the rules. There are rules to ranking, but there aren't rules to making money with it. The rules, or the guidelines I follow are really kind of what I think up and I think will work and I give it a shot at. I know, Joe, you're the same way. We talk, pretty regularly, and every time we talk, one of us has tried something new that seems to be working, and, in all likelihood, we've tried a few things that didn't work all that well. So just, if you want to go that route, give it a shot. There's nothing to say that you can't do it or that it won't work incredibly well. It just may not be the way that Joe and I have approached things up to this point.
Yeah, Fletch, I'm the same way. I mean, I can see some of the value with the My City Guide thing. That was kind of the hype last year. I never did it or messed with it. But my big thing is safe more than anything, and it might just be me being paranoid. But for instance, I have two different attorney sites that each one brings in $5,000 a month, and they're separate sites. If they were on a kind of a My City Guide style, and that site went down, and even if it's just temporary or for a whole month or whatever might happen, maybe Google just hated it that much, I'm out $10,000 a month. Where if one of those sites got hit, I'm out $5,000 a month. If that makes sense, it just seems to me a little bit more risky when you have all these different streams of income coming into one site like that.
Hey, Scott, I got a question for you. And these are some questions that were kind of asked in the beginning. And I think you have a little take than me and Fletch. And Fletch and I, we do more construction type niches and sell our leads that way. If someone wants to set up, like, say, a lawyer site or a dentist site or something like that where people are actually going to do a little more research before they make the phone call, how do you go about setting up your lead sites? I mean, are you doing generic stuff? Or are you doing your own brand? Are you ranking the site and putting the then putting the lawyer's information on your site?
Yeah, so I start out, at the very beginning, just with your typical silo, super simple silo. I mean, it's a service-based industry. You don't need a whole lot of information. I'll go out and have some articles written. It doesn't have to be the highest quality, but decent, obviously, because a lot of that's going to change later, and I realize that. I just put it on there for ranking, some good images, and then I'll just create a fake logo. Just one of those cheap or free logo creators. Put it on there. I've even used a fake name where I'll set up a fake Google account and just make up a name and then buy a stock photo, iStock photo for a couple dollars and have some, some guy's face on there and a fake bio. And that's really how you can kind of get ranking. I'll set up Facebook, Google Plus, all the basics along that route. Even create a video and have that a part of it. And then as it ranks, like I said earlier, I'll have that lead or that call tracking number on there from the very beginning. And it'll automatically go out to a company that I might be interested in working with. And once it's actually ranking, way up there, that's when I'll contact them. And if they're interested, right away, I'll tell them, hey, I'll add branding to this for free. You get some free branding with it. So I'll, need some copies of your logo, maybe some basic bio stuff, and then I'll have them actually go through the content and change what needs to be changed or add what needs to be added from there. Because obviously I'm not an attorney, and there are certain things you can't say by law, especially by state. Each state's different when it comes to sales and leads and all that, and marketing yourself as a lawyer or a law firm. So they just go through, just change some small wording here and there, just to make sure they don't get in trouble, and boom, that's it. It's pretty simple.
Great, fantastic. So that's awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, no problem. Start simple and then go big later on, because why put in a ton of energy into a pretty site with awesome content when it might never rank, or it might not be a niche that works, like you were talking about earlier with the leak detection. Some things just don't work, so don't put it too much energy until it's ranked. And for instance, one of those sites, a big money maker for me, as soon as I leased it out to the law firm, after 1 month of getting calls, we decided to just completely redesign the entire site. But it made sense because $3,000 to completely redesign it professionally, outsourced, actually ended up bringing in a lot more business because it increased the conversion.
Yeah, and two, it helps when you got somebody actually buying the leads from you,
Yeah.
To go ahead and do that redesign. And what's great is the same thing Scott's saying and Fletch is like, you just got to put something up and you got to give it a try. And so I think just to round back to Randall, Randall, I mean, you can do that. I kind of know what you're talking about, doing like a foundation, like doing a main site / chiropractor / whatever, San Diego, or lawyer / San Diego. That seems like a very large site to me, and you can build up trust on it and authority to your site. Like when I look at a site like that, I just play it all the way through, and I want to see, okay, how long before I actually start making money with this? And you just got to look at all the different factors and see if you want to take on that big of a project. But if you can pull it off, I'm sure it'll make a good amount of money. All right, I'm going to try to plug away through some of these questions. Invoicing a merchant using a merchant account, I use PaySimple, PaySimple.com. That's how I auto bill my clients. You can use PayPal also. I don't know, Fletch or Scott, if you guys use something you really like.
Yeah, I use PayPal, Joe, for most of my stuff.
Yeah, I really love that.
Yeah, I noticed a couple questions, Joe, that were about a statement I made earlier on, that I don't really take on a lot of new clients. And then that begged the question, then how do I grow my business? I spent a lot well, actually the entirety of last year, very focused on not growing my business, but growing my understanding of what it takes to build a business, and really making sure that I not only could coach and train and teach well, but that I understood all the moving parts of what it took to put together a long-term profitable, sustainable business. And you know, I had gotten up to a level where I was doing, you know, 30,000-40,000 a month, which is extraordinarily comfortable living. But at that point, I realized that I didn't want to necessarily get busier. I didn't want to necessarily have more clients, but I wanted to feel more comfortable with the knowledge I had and my ability to, if anything crazy went down, be able to recover it all almost immediately and get right back up and get going. So that really follows kind of the breakthrough stacking model that David talks about in Law of Implication. And what I've done with that is that I am now in a position where I won't say easily, but can very quickly build an entire business from the ground up. And what I'm in the process of doing now is just finding the right people who are either wildly talented combined with being passionate and caring about what they do, and then partnering with them so that I am now partners in their business and I handle all of their marketing and, you know, really online business foundation, and they just really get to focus on what they do best. So I certainly didn't want that to detract from what we're doing here with lead gen, but I also didn't want people to necessarily misconstrue or confuse what I was talking about when I said I don't necessarily look for clients. What I look for now is business opportunities. So I just wanted to kind of mention that now so that it didn't get kind of lost as we, you know, kind of wind things down.
All right. All right, good deal. And then Vince asks a question here. He's doing a joint venture with a business, okay? And he, from what I can gather, he says here he's using the address and phone number of the business, but he owns the domain. And if something goes wrong, you know, is it going to be hard to change that out? If I was going to do a joint venture with a business, I mean, I guess it just depends on how you have that set up. And if it does go wrong, how you guys are going to flesh out, you know, who bought what or what belongs to who. If I was building a site and say I was getting a percentage of whatever comes in, and I own the domain, I would also have a tracking number, and you know, that way I would just change as little as possible. You know, so I mean, whenever you get into a deal like that, you just have to think about, yeah, okay, if this goes wrong, what's the easiest way to retain? If you brand everything to that business, use his phone number, his address, and you have to go back and change it all, yeah, you can do it, but is there a way in the setup that if it does go wrong, you can minimize that later? Okay, Herc says, speaking of local video, do you guys have a good recommendation of a good video creator? Yeah, you know, actually, Coco de Roser, I think that's how you pronounce her name, she does some video creation with some animated video, and she does voiceovers and stuff like that. So you can definitely contact her on Facebook. You can find people on Fiverr, People Per Hour, and different sites like that. Okay. All right, looks like someone dropped in a price list here for Service Magic leads. And what Service Magic is basically Home Advisor. They just changed their names. So, oh yeah, look at that. So, I'll pop that in the chat box. So Mike Lee asked. Okay.
I was just going to say, Joe, I think that price schedule may be in the documents section of the OMG team page. So in the Facebook group, if you go to one of those tabs that's like for I think it's docs or files, I think that's in there someplace too. So if you don't grab it here, you can go there and find it as well, I think.
Awesome. And then Mike Lee asks, do you have a separate YouTube channel for each city video? Mike, what I do is I create a new, I create a new YouTube channel and a new Google Marketplace or Google local page for each city. Thus, the videos I put in would be, each city has its own YouTube channel. It doesn't mean you have to do that. That's just what I do. Paul here asks, are you listing the towns in the footer or bottom part of the page? So you're talking about when I was talking about for the county in New York, like Essex County. I just on the bottom of the page, not in the footer, but in the actual content, I write, we also service these other cities. And I'll put like the city, New York, right? So I'll just list them in there so it looks natural. Doesn't look like I'm stuffing it. It just is basically I'm saying I service these cities in Essex County, and I list them out. Okay, so we clarified that. Okay, so here Raymond asks, I set up a local agent site in my area, use the LoopNet address for the website. I just received my Google My Business Verification card, but I use my home address to receive the card. Is that okay? I mean, Raymond, it depends. Is your home address in the city that you're going to sell the leads for? I mean, it'd probably be okay. What I would do is whenever I use Google My Business, there's a box you can check that says you're a service company to hide your address. So I always hide my address. Now, I wouldn't send like more lead gen sites to your own address. Like say if you have a plumbing site and then you go and do some other niche, I wouldn't send that back to your address. I would just keep one business at your address. Okay, so Brian asked, is there a way to swap out a video Google Live events training? So, Jason says, great info, Scott. Yeah, that was awesome. Insight we got from Scott. Tom James asks if I'm going to take Fletch's lead and grow my hair to my shoulders. Tom, I don't have that much hair. I wish I did. It looked pretty bad. It looked pretty bad if I did that.
I've got enough to share around, I think.
I'll take some, man. All right, so thanks a lot for the nice comment there, Tom, about us over-delivering. Yeah, you're welcome, Tom. Thanks for coming up on the Webby, man. We love it when you guys come on and start contributing. I mean, it makes it awesome for us to be able to answer questions, but it also helps everybody else because sometimes the questions you guys ask is what's on their mind, and maybe they're too timid to ask it, or they don't even. So Paul asks, if you're not concerned about getting your lead site in a 7-pack, is it still beneficial to get a virtual address to get citations? I mean, if you're not worried about getting it in a 7-pack, I don't know. I would just get an address. I'd pick an address in like a big building, and just use the address for kind of like your schema markup, and that's it. Okay. So someone says they can spare some hair on their back. That's pretty good.
That may be, you know, a product you can start selling on the internet. There may be a niche for that. You never know.
Jason's asking about the Service Magic lead. Someone just sent that. There's, I think we got a recording of this, so we'll see if we can post this somewhere. I'll explain that a little more. Awesome, guys. Thanks. You're welcome. All right. So listen, I think we got it all. I think we got a lot of the info. We're going on almost 2 hours here. So I don't know, Fletch, you got anything else?
No, man. Thanks for putting this together, Joe. I'm always happy to you know, not only help out our people in any way we need to, but anytime you've got something that comes up, I'm more than happy to jump on and lend whatever experience and knowledge I have. So, you know, I know this will definitely help push some people forward, and you know, if nothing else, maybe help some people take their foot off the brake a little bit and just really get rocking on this stuff.
Awesome, thanks, and we really want to thank Scott Schaff for coming on, man. That's awesome to hear what he's doing. Scott, you got anything you want to say before we sign off here?
Yeah, my pleasure, man. I always enjoy talking about this kind of stuff. Let's see, just one quick thing. I see Randall Pruitt asked a question that some people want to know. Is there an issue pretending to be a lawyer for the site? And no, there isn't. You know, you have to be smart. You have to use some common sense, obviously. But even actual law firms and attorneys cannot, by law, put any sort of legal advice on their website. And there's disclaimers on every single one that says, you know, something along the lines of, nothing on this is legal advice, blah, 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 don't sue us. So no, there's really no issues. And you know, if anything, you might get somebody that gets pissed off at you for, you know, ranking #1 above their law firm, and you're not even a lawyer. Well, screw them. Who cares? Turn them into a client, or don't worry about it. So yeah, you gotta use a bit of common sense. But the only thing I'd say is just get out your comfort zone. Just do something and get out of your comfort zone and just try stuff.
Yeah, that's it, man. And that's it in a nutshell, man. I couldn't say it better. It's just do it. And if you do it enough, something's gonna stick and it's gonna start working. So, all right, great, man. Well, that's about it. That wraps it up. That's gonna wrap this up, guys. I gotta get up. My wife just texted me. She's gonna be home any minute. So, I'm gonna try to do some sledding here while I still got some light outside.
Well, have fun with that, Joe. Send me a video, man. I miss the snow sometimes. Your videos are always fun to watch too, and much appreciated.
Yeah.
Some good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, buddy.
All right,
Go ahead.
All right, no, I was just gonna say thanks, and Fletch, I don't know if you want to wrap it up.
Yeah, it's all
here,
good, man. I just wanted to, thank everybody for spending some time with us today, and you know, as always, we're around and in the group. I've got office hours scheduled for Tuesday. Joe, I think you're on. Is it Thursday? Thursday, yeah. So you know, we both, you know, as much as you know, we specialize, I guess, as much as on lead gen as anything, but. Yeah, if you've got any questions that come up after that, you know, feel free to jump on our office hours, which are always recorded as well. And, yeah, keep moving forward.
All right, guys. We'll talk to you later.